in the movies, you see that Frodo is slowly being turned away from Sam, and that Gollum is corrupting his mind in some degree until you have the line in the movie where Frodo says, "Go home," and then they separate ways, right? That, in my mind, is a scene that definitely raises the stakes, right? Makes it worse and goes, okay, now Frodo is all alone. What was your thoughts on that situation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that you predicted my response is that I hated it. It it doesn't make
Strong
any sense.
words.
I really did hate it because
Uh,
Sam is such an important character, and Sam and Frodo are like two sides of a coin.
mhm,
Frodo is so emotional, and he's got this poetic side to him that he kind of gets from
mhm,
Bilbo. He loves Elvish, and he makes poetry and music, and he's also wise. He's learned his letters, he's read histories, he knows all this stuff. He knows he can speak some Elvish. um, Frodo is one of those rare deep characters that you get and
mhm,
among the hobbits.
mhm.
And Bilbo's another one like him, like uncle, like nephew, I guess.
Right.
Or yeah, it's uncle, I think.
Yeah.
But in those moments, I'm not going to harp on it too long, but you lose the part. I said earlier, Frodo knows that Gollum is up to no good. Frodo knows
Mhm,
exactly what Gollum's after. There is no illusion there. He makes Gollum
right.
swear on the ring because he knows that's the only thing that will hold him. And he says,
Right.
I don't know how long this will hold, but we have no other choices. Um,
Right.
Sam, like Gollum, getting rid of the waybread and sprinkling crumbs over Sam. Frodo is turning slowly into a Nazgul or a ring wraith.
Mhm.
And that's
Oh.
that is changing who he is, but he doesn't need any help from Gollum to
Mhm,
to get through this change. Like
mhm.
Gollum wants the ring and he's going to do what he can, but Gollum already has a plan. It's to get rid of Frodo and Shalab's lair, and Shalab can take care of two hobbits, no problem. So there's no real need to get rid of Sam in that moment. Um, so that scene, it just, what it did for me was it said, okay, Peter Jackson doesn't understand Sam and Frodo's relationship. Sam, if Frodo had said, go home, Sam, even if he had been like, held by, and I can understand where you might add that tension in, where, okay, Frodo's being taken slowly over by the ring, and,
Mhm,
he's making decisions that don't make sense because things are going very poorly for him because he has this burden. But the burden doesn't make him lose his mind. The burden is turning him into an Nazgul, and it's important to note that it's doing it more slowly than it should because he's a hobbit. Um, but Sam is unable to. He can't live without his master. He's not going to abandon him. If Frodo sent him away, Sam would wait and then follow. He would never leave him. He would never ever. Sam going back down the stairs, ludicrous. Never would happen. And I think that it just shows a complete misunderstanding of their relationship.
I don't disagree. I don't think I disagree that it misrepresents the narrative of Frodo and Sam from the books compared to the movies, and it's not the same. That's true. I'm not convinced that it's a bad storytelling technique, I guess is maybe where I'm coming from. Is that I think
Okay.
that
All right.
as a narrative piece, I think it makes things so much worse than it would be if he had stayed true to him, because Sam as a character feels like all of his value, which is to protect Frodo, right, and be in some ways this asset to him, um is for naught, that it's nothing, that he is not valued, and it takes him seeing the lembas bread on the stones to realize that Frodo might not feel like he needs me right now, but he needs me, and that's what I need to do, is to come back and fight for my master. And that, I think, is a narrative technique I still really appreciated. But I do see what you're saying. I do see that it does change who he is as a book in the books compared to the movies, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So I can appreciate the fact that might be a narrative technique, but again, I question Jackson's inclusion of certain things that were never in the books, and exclusion of things that maybe could have done a similar thing. So,
okay, yeah. So when you're thinking of, when you think of a technique that helps, like in my mind, that's not the most iconic scene in the movie, but it is a strong scene that shows an emotional pull as an audience where you go, oh my goodness, no, he's losing his one asset in this dark situation. When you think of another scenario that would cause that same result, what exactly are you thinking of from the books?
The moment when he finds out that Frodo is still alive. Mm-hmm. Heartbreaking. Mm-hmm. Just because that moment doesn't have the same pull. And again, like if you're going to tell the story with Sam and Frodo having a different relationship, you have to pull tricks like this to get emotion from the audience. But if you pull it the same way it is from the story, and this is something that you kind of have to remember that Tolkien was writing in a time when there were real class differences. And Frodo is Sam's master. And he loves his master more than anything. He leaves everything he knows for this guy. He has an opportunity when Galadriel shows him what might happen to the Shire, which is arguably the second most thing in his heart. Mm-hmm. And he goes, I have to turn around. I have to go back. And then he goes, no, I'm going to follow Mr. Frodo regardless of what happens. And you get to this point, and there's a tiff with Smeagol, and it's all gone. Who cares? Off goes Sam. And then Sam gets back up and he's like, oh no, Frodo! Well, grab his stuff and leave. And he grabs his stuff and he goes in the corner. The orcs come and he realizes that he's alive and he's like, oh shoot. Well, I better go get him. Mm-hmm. And, I'm underplaying it. The movie does a better job with the emotional part. But it doesn't have the same impact it would have if Sam had stuck with him this whole time. You get this heart-wrenching moment where Sam has fought with this creature in the dark tunnels of Shalab's lairs. He fought Shalab and he's injured her, and he's laid his master out and he cuts him loose and he's like, okay, I'm trying to leave him at rest. Mm-hmm. And, he has this sad moment and he's like, what else can I do but go on? That's it. He's lost everything. He has nothing left to live for in that moment. And then of course, you get that. He gets it back. And it's even more terrible in the moment he realizes his master is still alive and he has condemned him to be tortured to death. Yeah. So, I think it could have been done differently.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I still don't hate the scene, but I respect where you're coming from for sure. Is there any?
I can understand it narratively how that makes sense.
Yeah. And that's good. That's what these discussions are for. At the end of the day, as long as we can disagree, but still respect where the other person's coming from, that's what's most important, right?